Welcome back, fight fans, to a new edition of Sucka Shots. I am Jason Burgos, and on this episode of this MMA Sucka exclusive podcast, we will be covering this Saturday's UFC Fight Night event featuring a main event of Vitor Belfort versus Kelvin Gastelum. But as always, I have a guest to help me analyze and make picks for this card. My guest on this episode is a member of American Top Team. He's the current Absolute Fighting Championship flyweight champion and a cast member from the recent season of Ultimate Fighter 24 Tournament of Champions. He is Jaime Alvarez. Jaime, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Hello to everybody. I'm happy to be here again on another great podcast. I'm excited to analyze these fights with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's for Fight Night for a freebie card on FS1. It's a pretty stacked and pretty full card. And also, I'm looking forward to talking to you about one of the fights, which is a 125-pound weight class fight, and to get your thoughts. But before we get into that, we always got to, talk some shop with our guests. I wanted to get into it right away. Now, the first question I wanted to ask you is, okay, so the Ultimate Fighter Tournament of Champions ended on TV, at least, in November. But for you and the other castmates, it ended, filming ended months ago. Now, Since then, castmates like, and I hope I don't butcher anybody's name, some of these are international names, but some of the castmates like Alexandre Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, Eric Shelton, and even your teammate Matt Schnell have either fought in the UFC or scheduled to fight. Now, also, Charlie Alaniz, Yoni Sherbatov, Adam Antolin, and Kai Kara France, since the show, have fought elsewhere. So, Jaime Alvarez, when the heck are you going to fight in the UFC, man?
Well, the UFC's got us on, this little limbo period. They're definitely interested in bringing us in, but obviously with this new purchase of the UFC, they're kind of limited with the guys they can bring in. So really, all of us are kind of in the same boat, kind of like strategically, planning our careers in terms, some of the guys got picked up early, and that was great. Danger got picked up on a last-minute replacement, was huge for himself. And I'm still building, I'm still getting better, and I'm, waiting for my opportunity. Definitely, I want to be with the UFC, and I'm going to give it a little bit longer, and if it takes a little bit too long, then I will be fighting elsewhere. I will look for other big promotions, around the world, and definitely show my talents, man. But ultimately, I do want to be a UFC champion. That's where I see myself in the future.
Do they keep you in the loop? Do you have to contact them and guys, what's going on? Am I going to be fighting soon? Do they contact you? Do you have any idea? Like they say, okay, just keep ready. We'll get to you the next 3 months, or they even give you 212. We're looking for your UFC 213. Did they give you anything like that?
No, I stay on top of them. I'm always hitting them up, letting them know how I'm doing. My team is always in talks with them. I'm really waiting for a last-minute replacement. I'm gonna stay ready. My weight's gonna be right. I'm aware of these shows coming up, and I'm ready for these last-minute replacements, man. The UFC is a little crowded right now. They're adding weight classes and things are going on in there. And right now, the whole UFC is it's going through a real culture shock with a lot of these things going on with the UFC not re-signing guys. So I'm gonna stay ready. I'm gonna wait for my opportunity, and a lot of guys are getting these opportunities, man. You got to be ready for them. So I've learned from past experiences from teammates of mine and people in the past, and I'm going to stay ready and wait for my opportunity.
Now, hypothetical, like you said, you can't wait forever. And if they don't get to you, which is unfair because you looked great in the show, I want to see you fight on one of these cards. If, for example, obviously there's Bellator and all these stuff, but let's say something international like a Ryzen or ONE FC calls you. Are you willing to travel abroad to fight?
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely willing to fight one of these big organizations overseas. I really want to show my talents anywhere, especially on the big stages, man. That's where I thrive, and I definitely do the best. So I'm gonna weigh out my options. Obviously, the UFC is where I want to be, but give it a little bit more time. And if it doesn't really work out, then I'll definitely be taking my talents, overseas, and build a huge name for myself. And eventually, hopefully, over time, I'll be back here where I want to be in the UFC, be a UFC champion in the future.
Now, since the show has ended, I mean, has life changed at all, or has it calmed down more that since the show has ended? Or, is there any difference now that you've been on a network big show, in that time?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You get a lot of notoriety. People notice you out. For myself, coming from a huge gym, I do get a lot of respect from my guys and everything. But ultimately, I'm one of the biggest gyms in the world, and I train with UFC champions, so it's kind of like not as huge from like some other guys that were fighting in small gyms in other countries. They must be like the superstars in there, but for me, I'm just a little fish in a big old pond. So nothing's really changed for me here, but it's really opened my eyes, and it's even made me more motivated to be where I want to be and training hard, and keep on getting better every single day.
Now, a topic I really wanted to talk to you about is now last month, MMAimports.com came out with a story that had a video of you, and you were boxing a 15-year-old Golden Gloves winner in Rakeem Neely. Now, the story seems to frame a narrative that aims to put you in a bad light. Firstly, when you MMA Imports is like the TMZ of MMA, reporting right now. It's a very tabloid-esque, and the story itself isn't even edited for like proper grammar, which makes me get the opinion that they just wanted to get that story out there, get the video out there, get the clicks, and get the attention. Now, with that, I have two questions. One, did they at all contact you about getting your point of view on the whole video and the story? And two, do you want to clear the air on like some misconceptions about that video that's out there?
All right. Well, first of all, I was never contacted by them to get my opinion or get my take on it. Secondly, I was looking to expand my game. I was going out there to work with a well-known boxing coach, and he had some upcoming stars, some young kids going to be helping me out. So when I showed up, it was all good. And ultimately, I'm a martial artist. I respect everywhere that I train. Every individual I train with, I don't train with animosity. I never try to hurt nobody, do anything like that. So I was aware that I was training with a younger and less experienced individual in the 15-year-old. So I went out there. I fought light. It was a sparring session. And for myself, I don't get too caught up in it because ultimately I'm secure with myself and I know what my capabilities are. So anyone who really watches the film and watches the tape on it can realize that I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I'm not fighting 100%. I'm just simply it's a light sparring match. Obviously the young kid, he's probably more nervous than I am. He's fighting a more well-known person and things like that. So he had more to prove, and I was fighting in his sport, so he had more to prove. Like, how dare he let an MMA guy beat him in a boxing match?
Yeah.
So, but I'm very secure of myself, and anyone who watches that film realizes that no one destroyed me, no one beat me. So it's nothing, man. And ultimately, if I would have went out there and knocked out a 15-year-old, then I'm just a bully, a tough guy that can't do it to a real boxer. So I mean, it's a lose-lose, but at the end of the day, man, I'm comfortable with myself, and I don't have much to prove to anybody who doesn't know much about, combat sports. So it's all good.
And then the unfortunate thing about it is that they frame it in a way it's like, oh, is he, this 15-year-old's beating him. He's been boxing since, I think even the article mentioned, like 3 years old, and he's been doing it forever. If you were allowed to kick or take him down and he was like 20 years old, it would have been a totally different fight. So like it gets kind of lost in it, just similar to like McGregor, Mayweather. Like people don't understand the differences and the level of experience one person has in one particular thing. But moving on from that. When you're not training for a fight, I wanted to ask you the last time we talked about it, I didn't get to, when you're not training for a fight or helping out teammates at American Top Team, what does Jaime Alvarez like to do in his free time? Like, what are your passions? What do you like to do other than MMA?
Oh, man, for me, I'm a huge family man. I spend all my time, with my loved ones. Love the beach, always going to the Keys, love to paddleboard, a lot of the outdoor stuff. Spend a lot of time with my puppy. I have a little Yorkie as my best friend. Always just a lot of downtime, a lot of family time. I'm not really a big club goer. I'm not a nightlife kind of guy. I do it every once in a while. But a lot of quality time with good friends, close friends, a lot of my family. That's pretty much what I do, man. I'm a low-key kind of guy. I'm not flashy, just kind of do stuff like that, man.
What's your favorite, if you got them, top 3 TV shows, top 3 movies all time?
Oh, man. TV shows, I can only give you this. I can only tell you what I'm on right now, okay? My girl's got me on The Bachelor. I'm really been watching The Bachelor a lot. Yeah, so, I'm on that. And when she started with me doing that, I was like, this is stupid. But all of a sudden, you're really pulling for these girls, and you're telling this guy, what are you doing? You go home.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of hooked on The Bachelor right now. Movies, I'm a huge movie buff. I go to literally probably every movie that comes out, and I'm a huge movie guy. I would consider myself a part-time movie critic. I
Ooh.
can definitely analyze movies pretty well. I love the new Logan.
Really? I haven't seen it. I'm jealous.
Man.
Damn.
Oh, amazing. You're going to love it. I think now, for me, it's the all-time greatest superhero movie because it finally now being rated R.
Yeah.
You get to see it's not so Mickey Mouse, so like I think they're really trying to find a new demographic, and Deadpool really opened the eyes of a lot of these big movie studios, and now they're going to be changing a lot of things up. I mean, I definitely see the future of these comic book movies, being a little bit more adult-oriented, and I think it's great.
All right, so last question, then we'll move on to some fight picks now. For my last, as a hot button topic in fans and pundits in the sport, in UFC has been, the booking of title fights and their champions of late. Fighters like Conor McGregor, Michael Bisping are often getting to choose opponents, it seems. And the company has started to lean even more towards a fighter's ability to sell themselves over the merit of what they do in the cage. What is your opinion on this type of matchmaking? And do you feel an added pressure as a young fighter trying to make your way up, get into the big show, that you feel a pressure that marketing yourself and trying to sell yourself as a commodity is almost becoming as important as just becoming a good fighter?
Well, absolutely. I've understood this for a long time. Most people don't know, but I have a bachelor's in business. I have a business background, and I do understand that we are not in the fight game per se. We are in the entertainment business. This is an entertainment sport. So you realize that your ability to move isn't so much correlated with your ability to fight, your talent. We have so many of these guys that are so well known off of their looks, more based upon, not even their talent and what they can do in the cage. And realizing the way these champions are choosing their opponents, it's kind of like, it's great to be the champion and choose your opponents, but these guys coming up, you got to realize, man, I got to be a clown to get a title shot because it's not about how good you fight. But then again, if I was a champion, I would really like to be in control of my fight. 'Cause I'll tell you what, Michael Bisping is lucky he's fighting GSP. He's about to get paid triple, if not quadruple more than he would. And in the fight in Yoel Romero, which he was going to have, now that's a freaking dog fight, and that's most likely where he was going to lose that belt. So in his eyes, he's getting paid freaking a crap load more, and he's getting an easier opponent in my eyes. The guy hasn't fought in a couple of years, and the sport has changed. So I definitely see, Bisping for himself, that was a huge opportunity for him. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to knock him when, you can't be too bitter about it. It's smart on his move.
And do you feel as a fighter, for guys like a Damian Maia or Jacare, who should have got like a damn title shot like 3 years ago? I mean, do you feel for those guys? Because those guys have established themselves, and then they're getting passed over for the quote unquote money fight.
Absolutely, man. I definitely feel for them, man. If I was them, I would be heartbroken. But they need to realize that, especially Damian Maia, like you can't be one of these guys who just gets these huge fight win streaks off being boring, man. Like, this is the entertainment sport. I'm sorry, but this sport is changing, and if you're not ready to move with it, then you're going to be left behind. And he's an amazing grappler, an amazing fighter, but man, it's a snooze fest sometimes. And that's why, even for myself, man, I'm a great grappler as well, but I'm out here trying to be exciting. I'm trying to get bonuses. I'm trying to freaking make fans get out of their seats and cheer. Because people are coming to be entertained. They're not coming here to watch golf, like clap real low. Like, they're there to freaking have a good time, and it's our job to make that happen.
Now, all right, let's move on to some fights. This weekend's card is stacked. It's from Fortaleza, Brazil. I mean, it's got a lot of fights now. 6 fights on the main card we're going to analyze and talk about, make some picks for. Hopefully we give you some ideas. Maybe you're doing some betting or whatever. Maybe help you out or whatever. I've done good on the betting, and I've done terrible, so Jamie's probably going to have much better ideas than me. Now, Alex Oliveira is fighting Tim Means. Now, Alex Oliveira is 15-3-1. Tim Means is 26-7-1. Now, Oliveira is 2-1-1 in his last 4 fights, with his loss being to Donald Cerrone. He has 12 finishes in his 15 wins, 10 by TKO or KO, and his last victory was against a debuting Will Brooks in a pretty big victory. Now, for Means, he's also 2-1-1 in his last 4 fights, and his 1 loss is to Matt Brown. He has 22 finishes in his 26 win, 18 by TKO or KO. Now, this is interesting because they're running this fight back after they fought in December, and it got stopped from a legal knee on Oliveira from Tim Means. Now, both are capable standing fighters, and both are capable on the ground. Though Means has a bit of an edge more in his standing, maybe more fights, maybe that's why he has a bigger TKO number. But can Oliveira's speed and bit of a wildness be an edge for him in this fight? Like, who do you think? What do you think is going to be the result in this fight?
I definitely see Oliveira taking this fight. I've trained with Oliveira. He was a part of the American Top Team for a few years. Super unorthodox, very athletic. And Tim Means is more of a grinder, and I don't see him out-grinding Oliveira. Oliveira's definitely a gamer, man, and I see him getting that win in that fight by just being the younger, more athletic, more in-shape fighter. And finding a way to get it done. And I also kind of had him winning in the previous fight before the illegal knee. So I definitely see him doing it again. And there won't be as many nerves this time. And I don't see Tim. I really don't see Tim Means finding a way to win other than the decision. But so I definitely put my money on Oliveira.
See, you're making me feel bad because I've already submitted my staff picks for MMA Sucka, and I put Tim Means. Now you're making me think I made the wrong choice.
Now you gotta tell me why. Tell me why you're picking Tim Means though.
Well, I'm going with Means just because I felt like you just said grinder. Like he will grind out the fight. He will use his experience. He's a pretty big guy for that weight class, and he'll just work his way through it. And because unpredictability and wildness can be good and it could be bad. And for a veteran fighter like Tim Means, I can see him being smart, being crafty, being measured, and doing what he needs to do, just grind it out. But I mean, since you said all that, I'm wavering a little bit. But I don't want to have two different picks on two different places. So I'm gonna go Tim Means, and I'm probably gonna be wrong. Thank you for making me look terrible. I feel awful now.
I will be remembering this while I'm watching these fights this weekend, though.
Oh man!
I want to see where my knowledge is at, my picking game is at.
Well, most of the people on this show, like Paulie, Phil Daru, Heather Standing, they do better than me, so you're probably going to kill me in this thing.
All right.
All right, now moving on to Betche Correa, who's 10-2 versus Marion Reneau at 7-2. Now, Correa is 1-2 in her last three with losses to Ronda Rousey and Roxy Pennington. Nothing wrong with that. Good losses. She has 8 decision wins among her 10 victories, which is interesting because she has this reputation as a heavy hitter. Now,
absolutely, yeah.
Reneau is also 1-2 in her last three, and her losses are to Holly Holm and Ashley Evans Smith. She has 6 finishers in her 7 wins, 4 by TKO or KO. The other thing is she will be 40 years old in a few months, so you got to wonder about that. Now, things to wonder. This is a bit of a make or break kind of for both of them because they're both, loose. You go 1-3. I mean, Betche Correa probably has a better chance because she has a bit more name value. But this is, like you even mentioned earlier, UFC starting to let people go more often now. Like,
yes,
this is a tough spot for both of them. Reneau, though, is 4 inches taller with a 3-inch reach. Can she play Matador, play a distance game, and beat Correa, who is pretty much a forward-fighting, going-at-you kind of fighter? What are you thinking about this one?
This is a tough call on this one. For me, I feel like it's kind of evening out in terms of pros and cons. I definitely have Besh as the younger fighter, more hungry, in her hometown. Definitely go on the chopping block to get cut. So I think she's going to be giving it all out there. But then we have the veteran, definitely more finishes, better striker, taller, longer. So I think it's going to be really tough. I think it's going to be a decision fight. And I think that the hometown crowd is going to really get behind Besh, and she's going to get that W. If I had to put my money, it's going to be on Besh to get that done. Hometown. And going to the scorecards, you got to go with those Brazilian judges, man. It's going to be a tough one. But I think all these things surrounding it, I think she's going to get it done.
We're going to be disagreeing a lot, I think, tonight. This is going to be a common thing. I went with Reneau, for 2 reasons. The reach, I like that reach of it, especially since Betche Correa fights similar to Jessica Andrade and a John Lineker with heavy hooks. The only problem is, like I mentioned, for this weird rep she has as this beastly kind of fighter like those two, she doesn't have the finishes of those two.
Absolutely.
So I feel that even though Reneau's older, she's going to do enough to keep the distance. And even if Correa lands shots, she hasn't proven that she's a heavy hitter enough to put her away. And Reneau hasn't been finished very much in her career. So I just went with it. I feel I could see it totally being a dogfight, a close fight. But I think Reneau scratches out the victory just from movement, landing a nice jab, working the distance game, and fighting that way. And because to this point, Becce has not shown many wrinkles in her fighting style. So unless she does, she brings something different, maybe go take down or something like that. I just feel like Reneau is going to pull this one out. Now, moving on. Now, this is the interesting fight in terms of these are two men who fight in your division. So I'd like to really get your thoughts on both. Now, it's a fight between Huah Formiga at 19-4 versus Ray Borg at 10-2. Now, Formiga is 5-3 since coming to the UFC, with his losses being to John Dodson, Joseph Benavidez, and Henry Cejudo. No shame in any of those losses.
Absolutely, yeah, tough fights.
He has 11 decisions in his 19 victories, none by stoppage via strikes, which that's an interesting point, that he's not a heavy hitter. Now, Borg is 4-2 since joining the UFC, and is coming off of an impressive win versus Louis Smolka, a very good up-and-coming fighter. He has only one stoppage via strikes in his resume, but 6 submission wins, so that's the difference. They're both not heavy hitters, but at least Ray Borg's a guy who can get you down in submission. Now, can Borg get the takedown and take the fight where he is strongest? Now, here's some interesting stats that come straight from UFC.com. He's averaged almost 4 takedowns per fight in the UFC, with a 50% accuracy level, yet Formiga has an 80% takedown defense rate in the UFC. If that doesn't work, can Borg do enough and kind of just out-athlete him, or is this a much, much closer kind of fight?
This is a very tough fight as well. You're talking about two really, really high-level grapplers. If I look at the Formiga fight, Formiga is an amazing grappler, a grapple monster. Remember when he fought Dustin Ortiz, and he just out-grappled the hell out of him. And, man, he's a great back control. And I think that his takedown defense comes from his guillotine offense. A lot of times when you're shooting for these takedowns, these guys pull really slick guillotines, so you got to be really careful with that. Ray Borg, I know he's an amazing wrestler, really high-level grappler, but I'm not really too impressed with his striking. I watched the Smolka fight, and a bit boring, rode the back a lot. This is going to be a really tough fight to gauge, just because of that. They're both trying to do the same exact thing to each other, out-grapple, control, win rounds, and ultimately get to the back of one another. But I would have to say I'm going to see Ray Borg being the younger, more athletic fighter. I think he's going to have a little bit of speed edge with the striking. I think they're going to maybe stalemate each other a bit in terms of takedowns and grappling, because both of them probably have really good grappling defense in terms of building back up from takedowns. So I'm going to say Ray Borg is going to get the decision done. But it's going to be a close fight, and it can go either way for sure.
I'm happy to say we're actually in agreement here. And since we do agree, and you've pretty much explained my exact thoughts on it, I'll skip my thoughts, and I'd rather just ask you, how would you fight these two men if you have to fight them, which very well you may soon have to fight them?
Oh, man, in my opinion, these are great matches for me. I would be going up against two kind of boring grapplers.
Tell them how you really feel.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really understand distance. Realizing going against these guys, you got to keep your distance. First round, most important. Making these guys miss takedowns, discouraging them, making them make bad decisions, bad shots. And that's what you should really start to tee off. Trying to take someone down and missing is very fatiguing. And I think I ought to be able to defend these guys' takedowns and just pick them apart. You saw it in Ray Borg's fight when he fought Justin Scoggins. Shot a million takedowns, couldn't get him down at all. He was damn near pulling guard, and Scoggins made him look like a fool. And that's exactly the way to beat these guys. If you don't know how to strike, then you're in the wrong sport. Go to BJJ tournaments. And both these guys are these guys that fall in that category for me. The sport's changing, and if you're not adapting with it, you're going to be left behind. And these two guys, if they don't fix their striking up, then that's exactly how I'll expose them. So that's my take on it.
Now, the next fight, I'm actually looking forward to the fight. This is an interesting fight of guys who are really on the rise. They've got some key wins in the division, and this is a real make or break to kind of get them in that next echelon in that section before maybe getting a number one contenders kind of fight. Now it's Edson Barboza at 18-4 versus Beneil Dariush at 14-2. Barboza is on a 2-fight win streak after his loss to Tony Ferguson, which, again, no shame in that one whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
Now, his wins are over Anthony Pettis and Gilbert Melendez. Very good wins, and what's even more impressive about the Pettis win is that he beat Anthony Pettis standing, which at that time no one thought that could be done. But now he has 10 wins by TKO, but also 7 by submission, which is, when you think about him, you're like, oh, Barboza got some submission. All right, so he's a stand-up guy.
Underrated ground game.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dariush is 18-2 in the UFC with wins over Jim Miller, Michael Johnson. He has 6 wins by submission and 5 by decision. Now, things to wonder is Barboza is known as a dangerous striker and a finisher, yet he has not actually had a stoppage win from strikes since he fought Evan Dunham in 2014, which kind of surprised me. But then again, when you look at
level of competition, yeah, absolutely,
that's true. And when you see all his highlight reels, they've shown that Terry Edom spin kicked to death, and because he hasn't, other than that, he hasn't had a lot since then. Now Dariush wants this fight to go to the ground, yet he has a 27% takedown accuracy in the UFC, matched against Barboza's 86% defensive takedown rate. I kind of have to ask you, Jamie, how can Beneil Dariush even win this fight? This seems like a perfect matchup for Edson Barboza.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. Barboza can win this fight any way possible. I see him keeping the fight standing, defending these takedowns, getting Dariush tired, and ultimately, if not finishing him, off of monster leg kicks and finding a way to get it done. Because he has monster leg kicks. You watched it in that Pettis fight, man. Oh, man, that guy is no joke. I definitely see him getting it done. Dariush, he's definitely got a tough one ahead of him, going in enemy territory into Brazil. So, man, I don't even know what the line is on this fight, but it ain't good. Easy pick. Barboza all the way.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's so tough for Dariush because Dariush is sort of in the vein of like a Joe Lozon or Jim Miller in that he's not a fantastic athlete, but he grinds it out and he maxes out the skills he has. But unlike those guys, he's not what you would consider a dangerous striker. Like those guys, you gotta take them seriously, and if he can't take him down, it's just such a bad matchup. Barboza, ever since he moved over to New Jersey and training with the likes of Frankie Edgar and Eddie Alvarez, like he may not be knocking people out as much, but his game has become much more polished, much more smarter. His fight IQ has seemed to grow, and it just seems too easy for him, and I agree. Do you think he gets a finish in this fight?
I do. I see him, obviously he knows, like we do, that he hasn't had the performance that he's wanted to in terms of big finishes. This is his opportunity, man. It's in his own hometown. Definitely, or his home country. I definitely see him getting that done. I think he's going to be working the leg kicks big time, slowing down Dariush, getting his footwork down, and ultimately, setting him a big kick to the head or, strikes. I definitely see him getting that done. But it's going to be one of these ones that it's end of the second round, third round type of finish. It's going to be one where he really picks him apart, and then gets it done at the end.
Now, the co-main event is the legend coming back to Brazil, Shogun Huah, who's 24-10 versus Gian Volante at 15-7. Since 2012, Huah is 4-4, and he's been stopped on 3 occasions by strikes. Oh, no, it's going to be 2 by strikes and 1 by submission. He was actually submitted by Chael Sonnen. Now, his losses are to the aforementioned Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson, Dan Henderson, and Ovince St. Preux, all very good fighters in the weight class and really respected top-notch fighters. Now, his wins are over Brandon Vera, Lil Nog, and Corey Anderson. Also very good, solid wins. Now, he has 19 wins by TKO KO. We know what a beast berserker he is in the vein of Vanderlei Silva. And he's actually on a 2-fight win streak, which I didn't even know. I knew he won recently, but it feels like he's been on the wrong end of fights. I'm glad to see, as a big fan, he is on a 2-fight win streak. Now, Volante is 5-4 in the UFC. He has 10 wins via TKO. Per minute, and this is interesting stats again from UFC.com, per minute, Volante averages more strikes landed than Huah, with 4 strikes landed per minute to 3.6 for Huah. Yet, he also takes much more abuse on average per minute, 5 strikes to 2. If this is a battle of chins, who would you trust at this point? Because Volante has been knocked out before. Now, Huah, we all know about the shoot the box and, how these guys would knock each other out. Once you get knocked out, it just gets easier. We've seen it lately with him. is it a battle of chins and who do you trust? Or does Huah maybe pull out some veteran guile and go for some nice little trips, take it to the floor and work and grind his way that way?
No, man, I don't. I see Huah, fighting a little too long than he should. He's a bit older, his chin's really not there anymore. Especially, but this one's gonna probably be a little bit of a closer fight in terms of distance, and they're gonna really be exchanging punches. Volante does not shy away from that. I see Volante putting him away just because of a flurry like that. He's gonna catch Huah, man. It's a tough man. We're learning now in this career that you can't afford to have that career where you're taking so much damage over such a prolonged period of time. People might see us fight, 3-4 times a year, but the amount of wars that you go to in your gyms are tough, on you. So I think it's going to be catching up to him, and I think he might get exposed in this fight. So I definitely don't have him winning just for that reason alone.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, I'm totally on the pride never die train. I'm a big fan of Shogun. I mean, I think I'm rooting for him and going with him in this fight just because I feel like from watching Gian Volante, and I remember watching him in Strikeforce and then moving to the UFC, like he comes from Chris Weidman's camp, a strong wrestler, good power, but maybe not like a really diverse striking style, not very fast. I feel like maybe Shogun could be fast enough. He's training with Rafael Cordeiro. I feel like he if it's a battle of chins, and if I guess I would go with the speed advantage a little bit for Shogun, and he lands a shot that ends it. But I don't feel any confidence about if you're right, I would not be shocked at all. So I'm gonna go with Shogun. I'm figuring I'll probably go with like a second round TKO. But moving on to the main event, another battle of age versus youth in Vitor Belfort. 25-12 versus Kelvin Gastelum at 14-2. Now Belfort is 1-3 in his last 4 with losses to Chris Weidman, Jacare, and Gegard Mousasi, all top-notch guys in the division. His reputation precedes him, 18 wins by TKO or KO. Now Gastelum has won 2 in a row, including his 185-pound debut against Tim Kennedy, who's been a long, really stalwart at 185 and a very good at 185, and he pretty much dominated him in his debut, which is really impressive. He has 5 TKO KOs, 4 subs, and 4 decisions. So he really can beat you whatever way works for him. The guy is, a well-rounded fighter. With Belfort turning 40 next month, has Father Time finally caught up to him? Or is he going to get that Brazilian advantage, quotation marks a little bit? Now, also another thing to add is Belfort is actually 3 inches taller, and he has a 3-inch reach. How big a role does that play? And the last point I want to throw at you is, who do you think is actually the faster fighter? Like, considering that Gastelum was not before at 170, I don't look at him as a fast fighter, yet Vitor is, even at 185, had fast hands, and he still kind of has fast hands when he's willing to pull the trigger. Like, what do you think about that? Age, being in Brazil, the reach advantage, speed. Who do you look at this one, and who do you think has advantages here?
Man, ultimately, I can probably never vote against Gastelum ever again. When he fought Kennedy, I was like, this guy has 0 shot at beating him. But, man, this guy has a hell of a chin, super game. He's an all-around fighter. I'm a bit biased. He came out to the Ultimate Fighter for a few weeks, and just a great guy. Such a strong mental game. Man, this guy's been an underdog his whole freaking life. On the Ultimate Fighter, he was supposed to be the biggest loser. And, man, this guy shocked the world. He goes out there and he beats Uriah Hall. This guy, I don't see him losing. I see him coming out there with a huge win. I see him coming out with a finish for sure.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. And, this guy is the man. I think he is a huge talent. I wish he would get his diet right and fight at his natural weight at 170. But I definitely see him getting it done at 185. This guy, man, I can't speak highly enough of him. And he's always impressed me time and time again. And these guys just got a knack mentally. Underdogs their whole life. And, man, this guy does not shy away from it. And I see him coming away with that win big time.
You swayed me here. Like, I don't know. Because I was going to go with Vitor just because of the main reasons of Brazil advantage.
Think about how many times you voted against Gastelum, and don't do it again. We all have voted against this guy 1,000 freaking times, and he's freaking always disappointed us and took all of our money. So don't do it again. He's gonna win big, I think.
All right. I'm gonna differ from my staff picks. I'll go with Gastelum. Even then, you still don't think the reach and possible speed. I mean, how do you think Gastelum wins though? I mean, considering that he doesn't have the reach, the speed may be even. Can he take Vitor down? Do you think he'll be able to take him down and just tire him out like a lot of other people do? Even though Vitor's been a guy that's fought even higher than 205.
The fight can go very similar to the way it was with Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall was a bigger, taller, extremely more faster fighter, and Gastelum finds a way to get it done. He's a winner, and I see him winning again. Gastelum has beat stars, freaking huge stars, guys who are taller, longer, faster, more athletic, better wrestlers, but this guy finds a way to get it done every freaking time, and I see it happening again. I really do. Vitor's not getting this done. At all. Gastelum's going to win. I think he's going to finish him.
Wow. I mean, he doesn't have the mohawk. He cut his hair, Vitor. I mean, doesn't that mean anything?
No. Absolutely not. Hey, you want to know what? I know you want Vitor, and I'm going to watch this main event, and I swear, when he finishes them, I'm going to freaking call you right after. And I'm going to brag to you for sure.
I think I'm going to be busy at that time if you lost. It's going to be something else. Like, I had to go to the store. So, you know. All right, so that was our picks. Hope we helped you out. Maybe you got some ideas that you didn't know about. You're thinking of your picks a little differently now. Before we go, Jamie, is there anything you want to plug? You know, I know you're on the Facebook, the Instagram. Anything, you know, coming up, you know, with maybe people you're training with? Anything you want to let people know or plug and talk about?
Nah, man, you know, I'm still doing my thing, you know, still getting better every single day. Definitely see some news coming through in these next maybe 2-3 months with the UFC or one of these big promotions, you know, Rising, ONE FC, you know, something big. So, you know, stay tuned, man. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, all the social medias, and stay tuned, man. Definitely I have a bright future ahead of me in this sport, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me. So, be one of those guys who follow me when I'm nobody, my man, because it's going to be bright soon.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate being on the show. That was Sucka Shots. Come back next time for Sucka Shots 6, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.